Give her my gum. All right, we're live on the breakdown here at 1871 here at Bunker Labs. We've got some very special guests today. First of all, we've got our regular crew. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Christine Mortensen, CMO of Bunker Labs.
Justin Walker, Executive Director here in Chicago.
Awesome. And then our special veteran guest today is Law Ream.
Yes.
Law, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Big fan of the show.
So tell us, our viewers, who you are real quick before we go to our special guest. Go ahead and tell us who you are.
I'm Law Ream, former Special Warfare, United States Navy, and current entrepreneur, limited liability company.
So you started a business. When did you get out of the Navy?
10 years ago.
10 years ago. And then how did you start a business? When did you start a business?
Officially 3 years ago. Unofficially right before I got out of the Navy.
Okay.
So I've been doing photography since before I left.
Awesome. And how's the business? So it's photography and videos as well, right? Videography?
Mainly focused on photography, but I do have people that I bring on, subcontractors that do video.
Okay. Awesome. And how's the business going?
Right now I'm growing way faster than I have. In the last few months I've been growing way faster than I have the last 7 years combined, maybe 7-8 years combined.
Awesome.
Why?
I brought on a partner, actually. I gave him a piece of my business, no buy-in, because of his connections and his ability to... I've gotten my foot in the door with a lot of companies, but I haven't gotten to paid work with them. Like, they've been tossing ideas around, and I brought him in, and he just knows how to talk to people a lot better than I do. So my brilliant business strategy was to bring on someone that has a brilliant business strategy.
Talk the talk for helping close sales.
Yeah, so he's really good at seeing like how a structure of a business works and telling them what they need, and they're like, "You're right, we do," and that's how I've been getting a lot of work lately.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to come back to this because I think there's some thoughts here on the gig economy and what this means and how you've been at this for a while. But before we do that, I want to introduce our special guest, Howard Tullman. Howard is the CEO of 1871. For those of you that don't know, I think most folks in Chicago certainly know who Howard is. Long, illustrious career, serial entrepreneur, was doing this stuff before it was cool in the education.
It's still cool.
But Howard, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here.
So we want to talk about a couple things. First of all, obviously big news is the hurricane. I know you got out of Florida.
Yes.
And are you hearing from friends and family back home? Anything?
Yeah, when I first flew up here, it looked like the eye of the storm was going to wipe out my town. So I was more worried about getting my business done this weekend, so I flew up a day early instead of batting down the hatches because my flights were getting canceled. But it ended up going up the West Coast, and even my friends on the West Coast are fine. So it seems like
it sort of missed a lot of the really traumatic stuff that we're going to be expecting.
Yeah, so we got pretty lucky.
Yeah.
It was supposed to wipe out Florida, and everyone's pretty safe. Everyone I know.
How did the Keys do? Does anybody know?
The Keys is about 5 feet underwater right now.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
5 feet underwater? Oh my God. Not good.
Yeah, parts of like the Caribbean are just completely devastated.
Several of these islands they'll never come back.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's tough to be a weatherman and to forecast this stuff. Howard, you've been forecasting the future for the better part of...
Not weather.
Not weather. You like that segue? I'm a trained professional. You you've taught film school and stuff. You actually have a point of view on what we got to be talking about. What are you seeing in the future? You and I were chatting before the show, but what...
Well, so we see everything. We have 500 companies here, so we have about 2,000 people a day. So interesting was how some of these technologies have nothing to do with sports today, but going forward, they're going to be the way that performance is improved in every kind of industry. But one of the most interesting ones was about measuring brain function. And I don't think this guy even thought about it, but one of the things I was thinking about that absolutely relates to the bunker was I think when folks come out of the service, there's a stigma, for better or for worse, and this is the ones who are perfectly healthy. And this technology would be really interesting to have a quick, easy test, which is a mobile phone say that it's almost like an underwriter's laboratory seal of approval. And if we did it going in and then coming out, then you wouldn't have this stigma of like, well, maybe the person has, PSTD or, any of these things. And they were using it for, all kinds of stuff. The example he gave was every morning for every tow driver, and it turned out these aren't guys who tow your car, but people who drive barges. Every morning they test them to make sure that they're functional. And 5 minutes. And then they have them do some PT to get them into shape as well. But the brain testing is really interesting because it's a really easy way to make sure there's not something that's going to result in a crash or a problem. Mm-hmm. From the standpoint of sports technology, it's amazing to, if a guy is off, you're not going to know until after he strikes out for it.
Right, then you find out himself.
Yeah,
hungover or something.
But you're right. Yeah. But if you check first thing in the morning, it's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
So we had, people who were testing blood, people who were testing all kinds of different things. One of the other really interesting things today was whatever, and they throw their arms out. When I was a pitcher in junior high school, it was like you're not supposed to throw a curve because you'll never, your arm won't grow up to be. So apparently the injuries for some of these specific injuries where you throw your elbow out or something, 40-50% of them happen to kids, and then they'll never play sports the rest of their careers. In the majors, they keep a much better eye on this. So if you make it in one piece to the majors, they're going to protect you. But all these kids who are trying to make it are destroying their arms and stuff. Mm-hmm. So really amazing stuff. Half the people in the room were technologists, and half of them were PhDs and doctors,
Interesting.
And engineers. Yeah.
Dealing in the world of sports and performance.
Yeah.
We've got one of the companies that we've worked with, Rich Gangler, Prevail Health Solutions. But what's so interesting about he's got a behavioral health platform, and they've done blind trials at Rush Hospital, and it's looking for discrete behavioral health conditions. But I hope I'm getting the story right, but some of his technologies have gone up against live therapist care, and it turns out that the online module remediation is actually more effective than live doctor-patient care, which is, talk about disruptive.
Well,
right?
well,
It's 1/100th the cost.
Well, and one of the reasons is you can do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get in front of a doctor and get an appointment and wait 3 weeks. This is the famous, if you have a cold, by the time you actually get to see the doctor, the cold is gone. It's a sure cure if you have an appointment 3 weeks from now.
Right.
And when you're feeling
when you
poorly.
get sick.
Right, exactly.
So speaking of sports, Christine was updating us. Did you watch the Cubs game this
I did
weekend?
not.
You did not? I did not either.
I went on Saturday.
You went. Okay, so what happened to the Cubs?
It was traumatic. It was
Sunday sucked too.
Yeah, and then Friday was no better. I heard.
No, they lost all three.
Yeah, it was geared up to. It was a beautiful day. It was picture perfect day, but the Cubs just couldn't pull it through. It was like a 12. They got 8 runs in like the 4th inning, and it was just like 8-0 for the longest time, and then we left. We were like, we're done.
And they lost like 15-2 to the Brewers.
Yeah, I believe then the final score was 15-2.
So talking about sports technology, so like this idea of coming off as the World Series champs and then just having what looks like a pretty abysmal
blowout
season, or at least weekend.
Well, it's, what was so interesting was that I don't think anybody understands how it works. So if you win, you play an extra month, which shortens the time for your guys to rest before they have to start the season all over again. But the amazing thing is that in the last umpteen years, only one team has repeated. Mostly the guy who wins the World Series the year before doesn't even win their division in the following year, which is really amazing. I mean, it just goes to show you how hard it is. You go through this quest. You go through this quest, of 108 years. You put everything you got into it. You win, and then like 2 seconds later, you're supposed to start over again, and you're facing 162 games or something in 180. 7 out of 10 times, and then you're a hero. I mean, if you're batting 300, you're like a gigantic hero. So, when you have players who average maybe 22, 23 years old, who've never been exposed to much of anything, The high is high, and then the failures are hard, and to teach them to be resilient and to start over and climb the mountain again is really challenging.
Is there some metaphor in there for like entrepreneurs that you coach? And
Well,
how they need to
I
think
mean,
about
the
those
metaphor is that over every mountain is just the next mountain.
Yeah.
Anybody who thinks there's a finish line, or that it gets easier, or that it's, you know, that you get anything other than a very brief time to catch your breath because of fast followers, because of changes in technologies, because of all the different things. You just have to keep moving. I mean, you have to be a moving target. And so I think that's one. And number two, I think, is that, you know, you do want to celebrate, but then you want to get back to business. I mean, entrepreneurs generally aren't, they're better in the process than in the celebration. You know, they're a little nervous about how quickly it can be taken away from them, and that they're a little paranoid about that. But I think basically they just want to get their head back down and keep going. And somewhere in between there, you have to catch your breath and let people celebrate for a few minutes because it's quite an achievement. But then they really have to get back to business.
So last question for you, Howard. So if somebody's, you know, 27, getting out of the military, wanting to do something in the innovation sector, what do you think is particularly interesting these days? What's piquing your interest? What would you, if you were 27 starting over, where would you be spending your energy?
You know, I think that, you know, we're going to see, there's nothing more important than data. Nothing. So it's hard to imagine any business that isn't going to have to be building a strategy around how do they get smarter. I mean, to give you an idea, you know, Facebook, I was just with Sheryl Sandberg, and they, you know, they now go to a small business and they say, give me all the information you have on 400 of your best customers. And then they put it in their little Facebook Mix Master, and they come back with 100,000 people that match the profile of your customers. And then they say, be our guest, spend $50 and buy 5 names. And if one out of those 5 names pays off, buy 10 names, whatever. And then when you go through 100,000 of those and you make a fortune, we got 2 billion more just standing by. So what they're doing is, for small businesses, they're building tools that are comparable to what the biggest companies have spent millions and millions of dollars trying to figure out how to do. And Facebook can do it because they have this population that permits them to do sort of like and like. And it's really amazing. I mean, they say, all right, these guys, Amazon does it too, these guys bought these 3 things. 100 other people also bought this 4th thing. So if you send a note to these folks, the odds are better than 75% that they'll want to buy that too. So, you know, so data is going to be enormous. Machine learning, increasingly, we're seeing the machines are going to help do a lot of stuff. All the AR, VR, MR, it's probably years off. You know, honestly, nobody wants to put on these expensive things. In fact, Facebook had opened about 120 or about 225 demo stations in Best Buys for the Oculus Rift. They closed them all because nobody wanted to put the thing on. First of all, you didn't know who had it on before, but second of all, when you put it on, but when you put it on, you know, you're immediately, it's not a satisfying experience. You're immediately incompetent. It's like, well, what exactly do I do? And so, and you know, if that's a 5 or 10 minute experience, that real estate is too expensive to burn, you know, 10 minutes on one person who is never going to write a check because they're like, gee, that was really sort of nauseating and discouraging. And so they closed them all. I think we're a couple of years. I mean, we've put all the equipment here so our companies can experiment with it, but we're a long way from, you know, seeing that be real.
So augmented reality, virtual reality, we've still got some time.
I think it's expensive. It's a novelty. It's not a consumer thing. I mean, the stuff we're building are experiences that a lot of people can share and experience, not sort of one-off experiences. So the machine learning, the data solutions, I think, are significant. And then look, you know, we're seeing 3D printing is an enormous thing. It costs about 30% of the plastic parts that are shipped to a car dealer each week. Costs more to ship the part than the part costs. So this is a real business case for a trend that we're going to see more and more of, and that is in every business, the closer to the end consumer that we can push the manufacture and the delivery of the thing, and the more transportation, this isn't good for truck drivers, by the way, but the more cost we can eliminate. So just-in-time creation, just-in-time delivery is enormously beneficial. And so, 3D printing right now, the most fabricated object in 3D printing is still Yoda from Star Wars. So.
Is it really?
Yeah, and parents all over the country have been shamed their local schools and their local libraries into getting these machines. But basically, the kids are just melting a bunch of expensive plastic. There's no curriculum.
Right.
But we think that pretty soon, this idea that we'll do on-demand printing with no inventory cost and no transportation cost across a lot of different products is going to be real.
Yeah.
So the car industry is just one, but we're going to see a lot.
There's big implications for the DoD on that front, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
Look, if you can send a machine there and it can create 40 different objects instead of
to help
trying
you
to
build
figure out
roads
how
and
to
do the things that you need to.
Yeah.
Interesting. So we've got a thing on the breakdown called Hacks, where we want to kind of hear from you, and you're in this law.
All right.
Gets out of this. Where we offer tips, tricks, books, resources, things that we're using, trying, thinking, reading that are helping us in our entrepreneurial journey. And so, Christine, can I pick on you and
Sure.
kick us off here?
Yeah.
What's your hack of the week?
So I actually just found this last week, and I wish I had found it sooner. It's called Beautiful.ai, and what it is, it helps you create PowerPoint presentations. It's not actually PowerPoint, but it's like it's an interface that helps you create like pitch decks and any kind of presentation. Drag and drop. It has a bunch of different types of templates, so it's something that I thought a lot of startups would appreciate, especially if they don't have a design background. So that's something that I look forward to kind of playing around with a little bit more. Right now it's free, it's in beta, so I'm sure they're going to phase out the freemium model at some point, but get in while you can.
It's free now.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned, just apropos of that, we have a company called Concept Drop, who's a 1871 company, and that's exactly what they do. So if you take your data and you ship it to them, they'll hire or they'll find some freelancers who can make it look beautiful. And you can be on either side of that. You can be a provider as well. It's a classic sort of gig economy opportunity.
We use them a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Great application.
Yeah, I think they're good.
Yeah. I have a question, Christine, follow on.
Sure.
How important, I was having this conversation this morning, it sounds dumb, but how important is it that a business feed have a .com URL? So this is a .ai. How important is that for startups?
Well, I would answer that first as who is your audience. If your audience is more tech savvy, they're going to be much more open to a .io, a .ai, this is the first one I've seen.
What does that .ai mean?
Nothing really.
I actually
Does it mean
don't
anything?
know. In the design world, an AI file is an Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator
Right.
file. So I'm guessing they're playing off of that. But again, that's just a guess. But yeah, as far as like your domain name, as long as your audience is going to understand that your email address is going to also be todd.connor@bunkerlabs.io, and they're not going to put in .com, it's fine. But for
99% of the world.
Yeah, I was going to say if you're going for if you're a B2C kind of
Consumer
facing, yeah.
And they're still emerging too. I mean,
Yeah.
right now we have a company here called Selfie, and they're lobbying to get the selfie. So .selfie is floating around. They have a pretty good chance because they have a trademark on the word selfie.
Interesting. Who approves this? Like
the government.
the government, like the
Yeah,
U.S.
well,
federal?
ICANN will approve these new suffixes,
Okay.
but basically the trademark office is who approves trademarks. So, I mean, what's so amazing about selfie is it's the only word in the history of man. God didn't make it, peace didn't make it, love didn't make it, war didn't make it. Selfie is the only word in the history of man so far that's the same word in every language in the world.
Selfie.
Yeah.
Universal.
Shows you something.
Global.
Shows you something about.
There you go, Lau. You just learned a foreign word.
I did.
Selfie.
Well,
A lot of foreign words just now.
Well, it shows you two things. One, it shows you globalization because it was literally upon these cultures before they had the opportunity to make up their own word for it, which is pretty astonishing. And now the French say it's a French word, but they're French. So selfie is a very interesting.
Leave it to millennials to use one of the most vain things in the world to bring all of us together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So true. Only a millennial would think of that.
Late breaking news. .ai probably stands for artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
That's what
So
I was
that only
thinking.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking when you first said it, but
I
then
know.
when he asked, I
I
went
was like-
blank.
Same. I was like, well, my design mind automatically goes to Illustrator.
Got
it.
So, like, yes.
Interesting. All right, beautiful.ai. Cool. Good. Thanks, Christine. Justin, what's
Yeah.
your hack, sir?
It's kind of a twofer in
Okay.
a way, but essentially, I've worked face to face with the students here in Chicago, so and I run into a lot of them that are kind of moving a little bit too fast. So I guess my hack would be kind of to slow down, to speed up, essentially, and don't be too quick to make decisions. And with that, build a strong list of I don't want to say like business partners, but build a strong list of advisors in your business to help with sales strategy, finance, funding, legal, marketing, every aspect of your business. Find a strong list of supporters that you can bounce your ideas off of, so that you're not just coming, to maybe one person or your best friend or your mom to like bounce your ideas off of. Reach out to those people, because it's it's not like a tool, it's not an actual like thing, but like definitely slow down, take a break, pause for a minute, ask your advisors for that advice. But that's probably one of the biggest things I just kind of want to put out there right now.
I think that's great. I think one of the big myths, on your thoughts and Howard, but one of the big myths of starting a business is that you've got to be expert at all these things. And it's like, if making a beautiful PowerPoint isn't your thing, pay $300 and have concept drop do it and be done with it.
Right.
Like you got to have it, but outsource, kind of what you can and put experts around you.
Another solution I would even offer with Howard Tullman being in the room as well is join a network, join a community of support that can help you move forward. That could be your easy button, that could be your hack, and you could pay $50 to $150 a month and gain access to all of those resources. But you just got to ask for them, and you got to use them.
Yeah. I'm gonna double down on that too and say you got to get out of the building and get in person with people. Like being in 1871 is such a differentiator versus being on some chat forum or somewhere online.
Or honestly, just being in a co-working space. I mean, renting a desk is not having the resources that are here with 1,000 events and 300 workshops and everything else that goes on here. And honestly, the accelerator here is lateral learning. It's like you look around and you see people solving things in an industry that has nothing to do with your business, but you can steal it, you can apply it, and we're seeing that all day long. I think I wrote an ink blog, you can look it up, called Slow Down, it might save your business. And it was exactly that.
Interesting. Law, what's your hack? Make us smart here.
I'm not, because my hack is going backwards. So somehow I got lumped in with millennials. They just completely
How old are you?
31.
Yeah.
So they completely deleted Generation Y, and they're like, you're a millennial now.
No, they got Zennials now.
Yeah. Oh, Zennials?
Yeah, we
Okay.
got a
Zennial.
subgroup
That's
now.
what we're called.
Oh, hey. So, but I've noticed a lot of the people in my age group, and I don't see this very much in Chicago at all, but it's very prevalent in Miami, is nobody wants to work hard. They all expect everything to come to them. And I know it's a lot of people give that to millennials, but my hack is giving my time to people. So I'd rather the way I got my foot into the door with my biggest client right now is a $1 billion revenue a year hotel chain. I did 2 free photo shoots before I ever got approved to shoot for them, to to show them what I got. And
Right on the wire.
yeah, so it was about 40-50 hours of labor that I did for free to get my foot in that door, which paid off massively. Now I'm one of 2 approved photographers for all 65 hotels. But the thing I've noticed is everyone I tell that to, they're like, I would never do that. I wouldn't give away that much free work. And I'm like, well, then you're never going to make it. Like, my hack is if I don't have a paid job that day, I will go do a free job that day to get my foot in another door.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Right on.
You're the freemium model.
Yeah. For now.
So glad you hired this other guy, though, to get you paid as well. I think that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
no.
definitely helps. He's also a lawyer like yourself, so
Can I shorten that to building your pipeline? So like building in people, like getting warm leads.
you can do whatever you want with that.
Law. That's such a good point, though. But the way that you say that is like every day. You're going to work every day, and the only question is whether or not you're going to get paid for it. But and the subtext of that is also that you're a great photographer. So like you got to have confidence in your work, and your work is good, and you know that that's going to stand for itself.
Absolutely. And so when I first started photography, the first camera I bought was, I think it was like 8 megapixels, and I bought like a $300 lens to go with it. And I probably made more money then in my first year because of just pure ignorant confidence in myself. I was like, I'm a professional photographer now, and I told everybody that. And I'm like, I'm a professional. Give me money, I'll take your photo. And I was killing it. And as I learned more and more about photography, I knew how little I knew, and that confidence went out the window. And I couldn't get a paid job. When I moved back to Miami from San Diego, I couldn't get a paid job in my first 2 years. So I had to rebuild all over again, and I built a much higher quality product. And I'm just now becoming confident in it again, to where I can tell people with honesty, like, I do good work. You need to hire me.
That's awesome.
Cool.
You do good work.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Excellent.
How do people find you if they want to hire you?
I go to them. That's pretty much.
We got people.
I'm sorry. I'll find all of you.
He's literally going to Facebook friend all of you.
Imagesbylaw.com.
Imagesbylaw.com.
Yes. So in everything, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Images by Law.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Howard, what's your hack?
Well, I sold all my Bitcoins.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you sell Bitcoins? I thought
Yeah.
that was the whole issue. You couldn't really sell. Who buys them?
The bank. You
Like you actually got cash, or
send the money to my account. Yeah, that was really what made it real. I mean, up to a while ago. I mean, when I bought them, like somebody gave me one. It was like a joke, and then I bought like 2. So I had 3 or 4 of them that were worth, I think it was like $500 or something. And today they're $4,400 a piece, and I'm like, okay, this is the end of the rainbow because I mean, I don't know how much greedier you could be. Yeah, so you just literally say send them to this bank, and you press a button, and in 3 days the money appears in your checking account.
wow.
Yeah.
I thought that was the whole issue on
No,
Bitcoin. It was
no,
like in theory
Bitcoin-
you can't liquidate
No,
because it's not backed by hard
look,
assets.
there's a zillion other sort of cryptocurrencies, and who knows what the deal is on each of them. But Bitcoin is absolutely legit. It's just that you don't know whether next week it'll be worth $500 a coin instead of $5,000.
Okay.
So
It's
my
also
hack
the-
is to it's sort of along the lines of that pigs get eaten or something and hogs get slaughtered or something, whatever the expression is. I mean, I think that some of these things, who knows how high is up. I mean, it's the same thing with the stock market right now. It's crazy. Nobody can understand it. But I think that it's prudent to stay in technology if that's something that you're interested in, but not to be over sort of weighted in technology, because it's hard to imagine that there's not going to be an adjustment in the next year or two.
Interesting.
The way the stocks are performing.
Interesting. What were you going to say about Bitcoin?
That's passed.
We're beyond that.
I was going to say it's the only cryptocurrency that has physical ATM locations.
Yeah.
So
Well, it has restaurants that accept it. It has other places that say, "Well, we accept it here." 1871. So
Interesting.
it'll be.
So we can pay rent in Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
We should.
Listen, I mean, our view is we would hold it for roughly 30 seconds. I mean, we wouldn't be
Yeah.
Right. So but yeah,
Interesting.
it's a viable thing, and we'll see how much longer that happens.
I
But
remember
think,
when my mom bought Beanie Babies, and she was like, "Yeah, this one's worth like $3,700." And I was like, "I don't think so. I don't believe that.
Right.
Like that the
Trying to
stuffed
sell it.
animal.
Trying to
Yeah,
sell
yeah.
it.
But who is going to buy it, right?"
Well, that was what was surprising, is that literally you on your phone you say sell, and in 3 days your account is done. I was astonished, because I feel like you have to hit the bid, but apparently there's plenty of people out there that were still buyers. Now, if one day they're not, then who knows what the next price is of those things.
Fascinating.
So stay with technology for as long as it makes sense?
I don't think it makes sense today, but I would say that you've got Amazon and Facebook, and it's just hard to, and Google, it's hard to imagine how those aren't good long-term investments today. I don't know about Apple. It'll depend on the new watch and the new phone. I mean, $1,000 phone is going to be really challenging. And I honestly don't know about Microsoft and Netflix. But as far as the big three, you know, Amazon owns e-commerce, Google still owns search, Facebook owns social. You know, unless the government, which whatever that means, decides to try and break them up, and I'm not even sure they can break them up because, you know, I don't know if President Trump understands that Amazon runs about half of the United States government on AWS. But I think those companies are really, even at their current prices, I think those are where you might want to put some of your kids' money, you know, if you were trying to provide for them for the future. It's just amazing, you know. We think Amazon will be the first $1 trillion value company. And they're not so far from that.
Well, this has been rich. Thank you, Howard.
Sure.
Thank you, Law.
Been a pleasure.
For sharing your experiences. And thanks, Justin and Christine. All right, this has been The Breakdown. Next week, we are going to have JJ Pinter live in studio. He's the CEO of, or I think Executive Director is his title, of Team RWB, one of the great veteran nonprofit organizations with thousands of members and chapters across the United States. They're awesome. We love them. JJ's fabulous dude, and he's going to be joining us by Skype. So join us next Monday for that. And until then, we're here to serve you. So if you need things, ping us at Bunker Labs, and we're here to support you as you start your own business.